Before I get into today's video, remember to follow me on Twitter. So my Twitter, the link is in the description below. You can also find me. My handle is @JacksonKruger. Come over, say hi, and anyways, back to your regularly scheduled video. All right, let's talk some Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. It's interesting, right? Because obviously they started off so red hot, then they lost 3 straight, 4 weeks without a win. If you include their bye week, they lose to the Tennessee Titans, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Green Bay Packers. So 3 good teams. And the question I think we have with the Rams is, have we overreacted to them beating bad teams, or have we overreacted to them losing to good teams? I think it's a fair conversation to talk about. And they've also beaten some good teams as well, Indianapolis and Tampa Bay in there. So I really want to talk about this one particular game against the Jaguars. What have we learned from this? A good chunk of it is still that, okay, they can beat a bad team. Like, we kind of knew that. And there still is some sloppiness going on. But let's get into the film study and talk about what they're doing well and also what they need to improve upon. All right, let's start things off with this play. What's going to happen here is it's pretty much a staple of this Rams offense. You have a quarterback rollout to the bottom of the screen, and then what you're going to do is you have basically just 3 options. You have a shallow option, a deeper option, and then one over the middle. The Odell Beckham option over the middle is the one that's probably going to get open here, because the idea behind it is you have a receiver run deep. He's going to take away the deep corner. You have another player run out to the flat, so the player who's in charge of covering the flat will cover him, and then Odell, who's already lined up on the top half of the screen, running all the way over to the bottom of the screen. One of 2 things is going to happen. Either no one's going to notice Odell, or a linebacker is going to notice Odell, but then it's a linebacker on Odell Beckham Jr. That's a pretty good matchup for Los Angeles. Watch how right when this play begins, you're going to notice, this play is just, quite frankly, it's working. I paused it right here because, just to show how open it got. Now, it's worth mentioning, this kind of stuff mostly only works against zone coverage, and this is also part of why the Rams having an efficient running game can really make things more effective, because they can force teams to try and play zone coverage, as it's easier to stop the run in zone, but then you can kind of game plan around that. So good stuff here. It is worth mentioning, you're doing this against the Jaguars, who aren't the best team. Yes, that is totally fair and a thing worth mentioning, but still, I would consider this good stuff by the Los Angeles Rams here. I thought this play was nice as well. It's another kind of similar idea of, yes, you are beating the Jaguars with this, but still, it's a good play, where what you're going to do is you're going to run a play action, and the play action is key, as the Jaguars are in a cover 3 zone blitz, it appears. So that means that because of this blitz, you want to get rid of the ball, ideally relatively quickly. You want to get open relatively quickly, but the play action can help just widen these gaps in this zone coverage, since, the players covering the middle of the field have to run in case it is a handoff. Look at how, when Stafford takes the snap, it does get wide open over the middle. So again, you're beating the Jaguars handedly. You should beat the Jaguars handedly, I would say. That's what I think should happen here. But still, you're accomplishing that. So good job by the Rams. I also feel like this is a throw that it's not the easiest of throws. You still had to get it past the linebacker, and ideally you want to hit your receiver in an area where he can make the catch and continue running. So it's not the most difficult throw for sure, but it's not quite maybe as easy as you would think, just seeing, where I paused it here. However, it is going to just be perfectly accurate. That's exactly where you'd want to put it if you're Matthew Stafford. So another play that I would consider to be a good play, even though it is, again, you're beating Jacksonville. That asterisk is going to be on every single good play. I thought this one was another one kind of in that same idea, where I love stuff like this, where it's going to be a zone coverage play that the Jaguars are in. Again, it's what Jacksonville likes to do. And what you're doing for the Rams is you're going to have a receiver run a deep route, but this is simply just a decoy route. That's all that this route is. Because what works against zone coverage? Well, we've already kind of talked about it, right? We already even showed a similar idea of this, where if you run play action, well, typically the linebackers are going to run over the middle in case it's a handoff, meaning that past the linebackers can be open. So how do you make sure you cover that up? Well, A, your linebackers could be a bit more patient in the running game, but B, another thing you can do is, especially in cover 3 zone, your corner is now the guy who makes sure he just comes in a little bit and covers the player who's running over the middle. Watch. So Stafford's going to take the snap and run to play action, and you see that's what's happening. So a corner is going to say, okay, I got to cover Van Jefferson. That's the player who I've circled in black here. That's what you have to do. So this now means that that area of the field is going to be completely taken away. So then when Cooper Kupp is going to run sort of in that area, that's how he can get wide open. I like this play. I think these kind of concepts really should be used more. I think this is something you will see. In fact, almost always when you see a tight end who's like completely wide open on one side of the field, it's this kind of concept. That's typically what happens. This time it's not a tight end, it's Cooper Kupp, but it's the same idea. Watch, you're going to see Cooper Kupp get wide open, and Stafford's able to hit him. Really good throw because you had to throw it all the way across the field. Usually you won't do that. Usually you won't have a rollout to the other side of the field. So that was a bit interesting. I wonder if this was actually maybe not the first read on this play, but still, love this kind of stuff. If you remember one of Justin Fields' preseason games, this was the same concept they did to get someone wide open. So again, you're playing Jacksonville, so it's easier to pull this kind of stuff off. But still, what do you want to do against Jacksonville? You want to dominate, and that's what they realistically did. Like, we'll talk about the negatives. There were just some clunky plays is how I would phrase it, I would say. On this one, when Stafford takes the snap, you're going to see just a bit of a high throw. Maybe he was expecting Beckham to go deeper there, but still a bit high. We go over to this play. You're going to see, again, kind of another one of those. Maybe it was a miscommunication, maybe just a bad play. This one, that's definitely just a missed throw by Stafford. And this one, you're going to see just a straight up drop by Van Jefferson there. So yeah, I mean, again, it's worth mentioning, you're never going to have a game where this clunky stuff doesn't happen. And I don't know how much of it is, I've talked about, I made a whole video on this channel talking about frequency bias and how once you start to notice that someone misses throws, you notice their missed throws more than you notice someone else's missed throws. So I've definitely noticed more Matthew Stafford missed throws this season, but it might partially be because, if the average quarterback misses 2 throws a game, maybe I'm just seeing those 2 throws a game now and saying, oh, he's still missing throws. So that could be factoring in. I really, it's hard to say for sure one way or the other. Although if you look at his adjusted completion percentage for people who have at least played half of their team's snaps, he's currently at, he's tied for 19th. So it's a little bit lower, although it's not like horrendous or anything. And obviously the good plays are still there. The positives are still there. So that's what you have going for it. I think this is promising. I don't know how promising it is just because you do have to always have the asterisks of this is Jacksonville, but this is kind of what you want to do against a bad team like Jacksonville, right? Is just, get right, so to speak, get your sort of your mojo back, get your confidence back, and sort of work out these kinks. I mean, listen, they added some talent here. Odell Beckham Jr. is not going to just immediately get on the same page as Stafford. It's going to be a bit of a learning curve. So it's cool to see them already start to get going. Odell had a cool fade route for a touchdown in this game as well that I didn't show. So you had some positives that you can learn from and grow from. That's kind of the main way I viewed this game. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What were your thoughts on this game? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.